So when it comes to financial train wrecks, the streaming platform Quibi, they have been bleeding money left and right. I mean, to the tune of over $1 billion. When you look at the platform, you can understand why, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So hey there, now before we get started, we have a second comic book, another case for the Littlest Umbrella. Hopefully you'll check it out. Link is in the description. This is our way to put out a great product, to go out and to challenge a mainstream that has forgotten how to do so, and so much more. More on that at the end of the video, and thank you for listening. So if you haven't heard of Quibi, this is it in broad strokes. It stands for Quick Bites. Basically, it wants to bring you shows in small segments, 10 minutes or less, normally about 8 minutes, and what it's going to do is bring it to your mobile device only. Now, in a landscape that is overwhelmed with streaming services, the way they said they would stand out is simple. They would bring in big names, they would give this, again, mobile device only, and they would spend on production. And when I say spend, they were telling CNN Business they were spending over $100,000 per minute. Now, as far as bringing in talent and shows on that, oh yeah, they brought in a lot of names. I mean, here, Quibi was quick to launch in the spring of 2020 with 50 original shows and another 125 to be rolled out by the end of the first year. Now, recognizing the risks of making something for an unproven platform, Katzenberg, the person behind this, typically offered to pay producers costs plus 20%, which is quite a bit when you think about that. People on Quibi have $100,000 a minute to make content, Katzenberg tells me. That doesn't exist on other platforms. Producers who went into meetings with him skeptical walked out thinking he might be onto something. Of course they did. I mean, look at the amount of money behind this. He pitched me at Nate and Al's and my eyes lit up, says Jason Bloom, whose horror-focused Bloomhouse production was behind Paranormal Activity, The Purge, Get Out. Bloom signed on to make Wolves and Villagers, and later on 2 other series. Bloom wasn't alone. Now look at the names in this. You have Sam Raimi. He's signing on to produce a horror anthology. You have Idris Elba, who's going to star in a stunt show. You have Christy Tingen that is talking about putting on the robes for a judge and presiding over a comical courtroom, and so on, and so on, and so on. They even picked up the Kardashians, who would have a mock reality show featuring a mythical fraternity twin brother by the name of Kirby Jenner. Oh God, that sounds horrible. Now, when I heard about this, normally I wouldn't pick up anything, but I wanted to check out The Stranger, and it was free for 90 days. And you know what? I lasted a whole month. You know why? Because The Stranger, it's basically a movie that's broken down into 8-minute segments. So I have to set on my mobile device. I have to wait for the next 8 minutes to come out. Yeah, no thanks for that. Now, my curiosity was like a lot of people's curiosity when they went out and they saw this the first week. In fact, in its first week, Quibi picked up 1.7 million downloads, and people, they thought, yeah, this might be a great success. The problem Quibi ran into, and they ran into quickly, was a plateauing effect, where they had their buzz, so they built up really quickly, but after that, within its second week, you'll notice they weren't picking up very many users. Now, additionally, the review numbers that they had come in to places like the Apple Store, they were not only underwhelming as far as total numbers, but the reviews themselves started dropping off. You'll notice that the first week reviews, they had about a 4.5 rating, but as time goes on, the numbers keep dropping until this is looking at about a 3.6. Now, in addition to those alarming trends, you also see a cooling off effect on social media to the tune of them not picking up 50,000 followers within their first 2 weeks. They had expected quite a bit more, and they had paid millions for A-list talent so they would talk about the platform. They had paid for an onslaught of advertisers, and this, it was just the hallmark of things to come. Now, to summarize that up and to give you an idea of just how bad things have been going, quote, Quibi's future seemed unlimited, and for a moment, when it launched on April the 6th, it looked as if all of Katzenberg's glorious predictions might come to pass. That first day, the Quibi app rose to number 3 in the Apple's App Store. Now remember, again, 90 days for free. They had all of that advertisement, so of course, people are going to be curious about it. But instead, that app here, it has floundered. The app's ranking is dropped to number 284 by mid-June, and you know that's falling as well. A handful of shows, such as a reboot of 90911, seem to have found an audience, although it's impossible to know precisely how large of an audience since Quibi, like most other streamers, doesn't release numbers. But critical attention has focused mainly on the flops. Now this one basically got a lot of attention too. The Golden Arm, an installment of Raimi's horror anthology, went quasi-viral more for its camp hilarity. If you haven't seen anything laughing about that, you should definitely look up. More than it was than anyone thought it was scary. Yep, Quibi is bad, was the headline of the article by the Vulture's TV critics. The Guardian called Quibi an idea born in an LA conference room that would probably die in the real world. Wow, that's terrible. Now this, it gets mocked, and mocked relentlessly too, as is noted in this, that Quibi managed to spend ungodly amounts of money for high-gloss Hollywood content with A-list talent only to end up without a discernible hit has inspired a substantial amount of schadenfreude. Jimmy Kimmel, hosting a virtual version of Disney's ABC annual upfront, said, "Here I am, standing here like an effing fool with nobody watching. I feel like every show on Quibi right now." Ouch. Gardner, who also walked out of Quibi without a deal. It was just clear that if we didn't have a celebrity attached, they weren't interested. Unveiled a satirical website called Swippy, in which longer videos are arbitrarily broken up into short chunks, sometimes in the middle of a scene. We realize people want to take swift sips of content, he says dryly. Now, what's interesting is where Katzenberg places the blame, and he places the blame early on. You'll notice this comes out as early as May. Katzenberg, he comes out, he says the beer bug, that's the reason that it failed, even though others were like, yeah, maybe that's not it. Quote, "I attribute everything that has gone wrong to the beer bug. Everything, but we own it," Jeffrey Katzenberg told the New York Times as he lamented the poor start for Quibi, his smartphone short-form play. Is it an avalanche of people that we wanted and going out for the launch? The answer is no. It's not up to that we wanted. It's not even close to what we wanted. Now, one analyst is quoted as saying this, and I think this really says everything about Quibi. Quibi has undoubtedly been hurt by the beer bug. The platform is tailored for commuters and on-the-go viewing. With people forced to stay at home because of the lockdown, it is understandable that it did not live up to expectation. However, Quibi's co-founder, Katzenberg, comments that Quibi floundering performance is solely attributable to the beer bug is simply not true. The inability of management to adapt to the beer bug set it on the path for failure. According to Quibi, the platform has over 3.5 million downloads in the first month, yet just 1.3 million active users. This compels in comparison to streaming behemoths. Disney Plus received 10 million downloads in its first 24 hours. The streaming industry is one of the biggest beneficiaries of the beer bug lockdown. Netflix doubled its new subscribers in Q1 2020 to 15.8 million, almost entirely due to bored people stuck at home. Some would argue that this is the perfect time to release a new streaming platform, and I'd be inclined to agree. Quibi's failure is due to its restrictive nature. The platform only supports mobile viewing and short-form video. The content library is weak compared to large streamers. At $7.99 a month, it is expensive. Disney Plus is just $6.99 a month. Quibi lacked the dynamicism to adapt to beer bug. Users want to binge on their favorite shows on the big screen, a problem Quibi faced even without the perils of the beer bug. Quibi has now announced that it will support the casting to TV screens, which will go some way to correct its self-imposed flaws. However, much remains to be done, just as lockdown restrictions are easing. If Quibi is increasingly streamed to TVs, it will become a more natural competitor to the streaming giants. However, the firm does not have the library to compete, especially at such an expensive pricing point. It will need to reduce its price pricing and introduce long-form content to compete, but this risks losing the very thing that seems to set it apart in the first place. And yeah, I agree. You know, if you're going to go out, have to watch it on your phone, you're going to have to watch it in 8-minute slices, that's a problem. Me, I'm not going to watch things on my phone. I hated that idea. But it's the same thing that makes it unique and why people picked it up. So you have a problem there, and that problem, it's going to be billions lost at the end of it. You can see the headlines now that bleeding, it started, it will never stop. And Quibi, it was a good idea, but one that won't last. At least that's my opinion. But anyway, let me know what you think about this. So to close, this is our follow-up to our Smash comic book. This is another case for the littlest umbrella. This is our second outing. Our first one, like I said, was a phenomenal success. This one has had even more success, and we could use your help in getting the word out. This is 40 pages of all ages, Lovecraftian goodness. For picking this up, you basically not only get what you buy, but you get 3 free cards. You get a postcard with it, a sticker, and so much more. You can see that in the description. Now, also, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. You empower these endeavors. Not enough people say it. I definitely believe that. So thank you. I appreciate you, and we'll see you soon.